Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Video Games Ahoy. My name is Jonathan Radford, and as ever, I'm joined by Dav Gabe.
Hello.
And Zach Hamilton.
Hello.
How are you doing, fellas?
Very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. I've got a story to tell you guys in a wee bit, but yeah, or maybe I should tell you now. Actually, do you know I've been struggling? Dav, I told you this yesterday, but Zach, I'm not sure if you know. There's a moose in my house.
There's a mouse. Tell us.
There's a mouse in my house, and I felt really bad because the last 4 days I've been trying to get rid of it, humanely, because I don't want to hurt little mouse, but it's got to the point now where we're just we've had to call in the pest control, and I think they're gonna.
Yeah, that is a dead mouse, my friend.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get. I think he's gonna be a dead mouse soon, which is really sad. But I can't have a mouse just potter around my house. So
the best thing to do if you have mice in your house is to name them, because if you name them, they stop being gross and start being cute.
Yeah,
Hello.
That's why I didn't name it. I did buy a humane trap.
I mean, you definitely can't kill them after that. You know, I
no,
did that
you
and
can't.
Then moved out of my old place. So
yeah,
that was an easier route.
My sister was like, "Call it Mickey," and I was like, "No, I'm not being responsible for the deck of Mickey Mouse."
I'm pretty sure that rule is the same for children as well.
Yes.
Yeah. If you
once you name them, you can't kill them.
Once you name them, I mean,
can't kill them once you name them. That's the law.
Well,
Science.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway. So the podcast is supported by a whole host of wonderful people and our lovely patrons. Especially so by our VIP crew member. We still have one. If you want to join, that would be fantastic. But we have the one VIP crew member that is David. So thank you very much, David. And thank you to
scared him off yet.
Thank you to everyone that contributes. You keep the podcast going, and you enable us to dream big. And I say that all the time. But you do. You give us big dreams.
Help us out big time.
If you would like to support us, then that'd be lovely. Go ahead to our Patreon page, which is Video Games Ahoy. You can pay £1, £5, £10, or you can pick an amount. Pick an amount of your choosing. We're not picky ourselves. And if you don't want to or you can't, that's totally cool. We are totally grateful for you listening to the show, as well as Patreon. You can find us on the usual websites like Twitter, Facebook, and if you want to see our faces, we are on YouTube because we like the YouTubes. So visit us there.
We've got our nice new little graphic.
We do as well.
It's pretty cool.
So
You've
make sure you check that
if you're on YouTube.
Yeah, the new graphic made, brand spanking new, unleashed.
I only just saw it this morning, but it's pretty dope.
It's really nice. He's done a great
Yeah.
job. Harry's done a great job. But yeah, I think one thing I wanted to say as well, we've been working really hard behind the scenes to get a lot of new content going. Myself and Dav have been playing Streets of Rage 4 on Twitch, and we're going to be doing it again.
It was a good stream.
It was good fun. It was really, really good fun. It was surprisingly tricky just to start off with, and it was really good. We'll talk about Streets of Rage 4 in a bit, but if you want to see us complete that, we've finished part 1. We're going to start part 2 again this Monday, which I believe is the 1st of June. So check us out on Video Games Ahoy on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we're going to complete it then as well.
Yeah, I think so as well, because we got over halfway. We're on, I think, level 8. We were on
level 9 maybe, or 14.
There we are. So there's not many levels to go. We should do that. And also Dav streams as well. So check Dav out at
twitch.tv/Dav plays things.
Sure
Dav DAF. Dav plays stuff.
Dav plays things.
Very important.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
That's someone else's channel. I'm gonna
Dav
make
plays
one.
things.
I'm gonna make my own channel called Dav Plays Things, so that half your audience comes to me.
At least it comes to us. Yeah.
Twitch.tv/Dav plays stuff.
But yeah.
Catch our main channel. Twitch.tv/Video Games Ahoy.
But make sure if you want to watch Dav, he's been playing a lot of cool stuff recently. You've been playing Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah.
Played it. Streamed this morning, Wednesday morning. Peek behind the curtain, and Tuesday
Every
night.
week, you just got to tell everyone when we're filming.
Yeah, and then on Friday on the main channel, Video Games Ahoy, I'll be streaming Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on launch day.
So excited about that game! Because I've just been looking on online, and it's coming out in 36 hours. It's not long. And I said this last week, but I loved 2, so I'm expecting to love 1. And by what most people have said, 1 is better than 2. So I'm really excited. But yeah, that's it. We'll leave it there for the podcast. See you all next week.
Ahoy!
No, let's start talking about games. Now, I know our listeners think that we are the manliest bunch of men that have ever lived. So I thought it'd be a really good idea for them to see us show our range of emotions. So yeah, we're going to talk about emotional video game moments today. I would say before we start, there might be a few spoilers. So what I'll do is on the podcast, I'll put up mark where you can skip ahead. If you don't want to hear anything, you can skip ahead for about 10 minutes. We'll talk about some stuff later on.
Should we list the games that we're going to talk about?
Yeah, so Dav, what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to talk about Gris, or Gris, or Gris. I don't know how to pronounce it. But it's Gris, that game.
That game. How about you, Zach?
I don't think I'm going to be doing any spoilers, so I think it's okay.
Okay. What game is it?
I haven't decided.
Okay, that's fine. It won't be any spoilers because we'll put Dav second. So if you're going to skip it anyway, you'll skip Dav, and Zach will give you a heads up, whatever it is. And I'm going to be talking about 3 games, which is Final Fantasy VII, Red Dead Redemption 2, and That Dragon Cancer, which... Yeah, it's gonna get emotional, guys.
I'd never heard of this game until right before the podcast, but because of the excitement that Johnny has about it, I don't want to hear spoilers because it sounds awesome.
I think excitement is probably the wrong word.
Yeah.
But
Am I going to be really sad by this podcast? And
probably.
Me out?
We're gonna need a massive pick us up. So
okay, I'll think of something positive to say.
Yeah, I think we'll think of something positive.
It can be positive emotions.
Positive emotions, yeah. Like, that was so beautiful. It made me cry. That's what it could be. So yeah,
but
Dad,
you had to have cried.
Should we? I want to see footage of Zach crying. Dav, should we start with you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So Grease, whatever, is the only game that's ever made me physically shed water from my face.
Wow.
What is this salty discharge?
What
that
is this?
Disgusting. It's not a good enough excuse for the word discharge.
It was just there is no good excuse for the word discharge. It was just this one single tear rolling down my face, and because I'm not gonna lie, games usually don't really get me emotional.
Yeah.
I feel like the writing generally just isn't good enough in like 99.9% of video games.
Yeah.
That is a bold statement to start this episode off with.
Yeah, we're off to a start.
Yeah, so but Grease is a gorgeous game. Looks beautiful, sounds beautiful. Talked about it briefly when we were talking about composers the other week. Berlinist, the Spanish band, wrote the music, and it's a platformer, 2D platformer, all hand drawn art, beautiful, and you start off on this palm, this huge stone palm. And this woman's face, this sort of massive statue, and the thing crumbles and you fall to earth, and you've got to bring colour back into the world. You start off and it's all grayscale, and one by one, when you do each section of the game, you bring back a new colour. And eventually you bring back all the different colours. I think there's 5 or 6 colours. And it's revealed on either the penultimate or the last colour. You get a little sort of in-game achievements, and I can't remember specifically what it says, but it basically reveals, just from that little thing, it reveals that this whole thing has been your character. My interpretation of it was your character grieving the loss of their mother, and it's the different stages of grief is each colour, and it was them trying to fight through this process and get from losing their mother, which is the crumbling of the stone statue at the beginning, to eventually building her world back together to continue normally. And it's just that moment, and there's just this beautiful cutscene of like 2 minutes of like all this music and all the artistry and everything going around. I was just lost in it. I was just like so absorbed by it.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about storytelling in games, is that it's not a conversation.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that moment in a TV series.
Yeah.
You can't be like, a little thing pops up and you go, that means it changes everything.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, in like great moments in like something like Westworld, it's something someone says or something someone does. Whereas in a game it could be anything. And that's the great scope for story in video games. It's just a shame that usually it's not always achieved. But in Grease.
And I totally agree with you. I think the one thing I would say, it can sometimes be the best thing about a video game. At least what I find is that a lot of the time the characters become an extension of you, because you're playing through their eyes. You're playing as them. So when they experience stuff, it almost like it like knocks you as well. That's what I find. I was gonna make a joke because you said the different stages of grief, and I was like the different stages of Greece, but I thought let's save that for later.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely. Zach is just laughing. I'm trying to keep it light, guys. God.
You picked the topics.
The best thing was that you were like, "Oh, I was going to say that, but I decided not to because I thought it was stupid." But I'm going to tell you it now.
Yeah, I'm going to
tell you exactly what it was.
I'm going to tell you exactly what it was. But no, from what I've read, to be fair, from what I've read about that game,
oh dear,
it does. Like I've only heard good things about it. And I've been close to getting it on the Switch, but I think there's been so many times. I think we've all often had like backlogs just going on for days, and I currently have one as well.
Hey, this is the best time to get rid of your backlog.
That is true.
I completed 2 garbage Assassin's Creed games.
You did. Did they make you cry for different reasons?
Which
Not even cry. I was apathetic.
That's worse.
Which ones did you play?
That is so worse.
Assassin's Creed Rogue and Assassin's Creed Unity.
Are you catching up on the series?
Yeah, next is Syndicate, and then Origins. So like I've just been blasting through the stories, but Origins is gonna be the first one where I go, right, let's sit down, let's just chill, let's see what's going on here.
My brother loved that game. He said it's, and I saw him play it for a little bit, and he did say it was so much better than like the most recent games before that.
But no emotional fortitude in those games. There's nothing to be had. In those 2 games specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy like loses his dad at the beginning of the game, and you just don't care. Just don't care.
What about you, Zach? What games that made you feel emotional?
Games that make... Do you know what, man? I'm on the other end of the spectrum. All games make me emotional. Like, I get emotional over like games I don't even like. Assassin's Creed 3 is a great example. I got to the end of that, and I was still kind of like, oh, I'm done with this game. Even though I hated it. I'll probably have it when I eventually get around to Uncharted 1. Yeah. Which I am not going to get around to anytime soon.
I'll tell you what, it's a good story.
Really?
Uncharted 1?
Yeah.
The storytelling, I think the stories across all 4 games are at least solid. They're at least solid, and some of them are spectacular, is what I would say, personally. But I understand why the gameplay sucks.
I'm not sold yet.
And you shouldn't be. But
I shouldn't be.
I do want to play Uncharted 2. After playing Uncharted 1 all the way through, so help me God, I do actually want to play Uncharted 2.
2 is significantly better. I will put my I will say right now that it's
the consistency with which people are saying that 2 and 4 are the best ones makes me more confident, which is nice.
Yeah. But any specific games that that got you?
The most recent ones that I played that really got me going, there was 3 games that I played about the same time. I was playing Hollow Knight, I was playing Undertale, which are 2 super well-known games. And there's a 3rd game, and I wonder if anyone can tell me what it's called, because I can't remember its name.
Okay, I like this game.
Yeah,
Describe
this is
it.
good. This is
good. I don't think either of you will have played it. It was on offer on the Switch. The reason I don't know the name is because I don't have a Switch anymore, so I can't even check. And it's a 2D kind of platformer thing with really nice detailed pixel art, I think, if I'm remembering rightly. It's been like a year and a half. And it opens, and you're like a scientist whose wife has died. That's the opening.
Zach, I could probably tell you. I'm just going to grab my Switch.
Axiom Verge?
What was it called?
Axiom Verge?
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
You're a scientist in that.
And literally, so like the first scene, I think, is like you're in your flat, and like, I don't think anyone tells you. I don't think it's like your wife is dead, but it's like clear by the the surroundings and stuff. And it's, I won't go into the plot too much, but it's basically he wants his wife back, and it's
What weapon does he use?
He uses like a blaster, like a pachoo gun.
What was it about this game that got you emotional?
It was a really short game, and so I think I beat it in like a day. I was actually backstage for it, and not saying anything, but I was backstage for a show when I was playing it. which was probably not allowed, but who cares? And it just did what I think gaming does really well. You know, you're saying about, often game stories can be a bit... I think what games can do really well is this kind of... is the show and not tell stuff really, really well, because... And also you can ignore it, you know what I mean? Like, it can be there, and you can decide, I want story, so I'm going to go look for it. Or you can go, like, I don't want any story, it's all good. To talk about a game that I'm going to talk about probably in every episode at some point, The Last of Us is a great example of this, where they have those optional bits of dialogue, and you can look at a grave, or you look at a poster, or you look at something and someone will come over and then you can trigger an optional conversation. Now, that's a really good example in a AAA game, but obviously this game is like pretty low budget. I think it's the game's probably about 2 hours long, and it's like a side-scrolling pixel art kind of thing. But so what it does really well on the other side of it is just to have little artistic details, things that you just see, and it's like, oh, that must mean this. Yeah. Rather than having to be told, like, for instance, I was playing Resident Evil 7, which is a game that I quite like. Yeah. And again, no spoilers here, but basically a good deal of the exposition is done by people talking to you. And now that's cool because it's built, I think it's built from the ground up with VR in mind. So the idea, and from that first person perspective, so it's supposed to feel realistic and all that stuff, and that works really well for that medium. But if you were doing that for a 2D platformer, you'd be going like, surely there's a better way of conveying this information than me reading some dialogue and staring at the screen for the next 10 minutes. That's I won't go into quite why it made me emotional, but because I don't want to give anything away for anyone who knows what the name of the game is or can play it or whatever.
I keep thinking Celeste, but it's not Celeste.
It's not
Celeste, Slime Sand. I'm thinking of all these different...
It wasn't something that I ever heard anyone else playing. It wasn't something I'd ever heard of. It was on offer. So I got it for like £1, and I was like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Yeah. And it was super interesting.
It's lovely when that happens, when you get a little game and you go, oh, this is a little morsel of goodness.
Well, one of the nice things was, like, I didn't have any expectations, so, like, on the other hand, something like Undertale or Hollow Knight, which are games that everyone likes, it's like, I kind of knew going in that they were going to be good, so...
Of course.
It felt like a safe bet, it was like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to enjoy this to some extent, but, like... when it's something you don't know if it's going to be good, there's like more surprise and more it's like, oh, cool, this is a really cool idea that they came up with, and like I feel like I enjoy that even more for not knowing that it's I don't have any expectations.
For sure. I think that's a really good point. I think expectations can sometimes it can impact whether you enjoy a game more, because if someone's telling you over and over again, this is a great game, this is a great game, this is impactful, you sometimes doubt it a little bit. I mean, sometimes it can, it can make you go, okay, that is true. I think one game in particular, and the one game I'm going to talk about actually, I say one game, one of 3 games, because I'm going to mention 3, is, I think that's the case with Final Fantasy VII. I think one moment in particular in that game is, for a lot of people, it is one of the most tragic things they've ever seen in a video game, and for a lot of people, it kind of makes them think, is that even worth playing the game for? Because 1, they know what happens, but 2, because I guess in modern gaming, it'll be done. I imagine it'll be done better when they do it in the remake. But when I first played Final Fantasy VII, I was about 10 years old, and okay, this is the spoiler. So when Aerith dies in Disc 1, I had never experienced anything like that. So the writing isn't incredible. You can go back to Final Fantasy VII. It's a great story, but the writing isn't necessarily brilliant, if that makes sense. Like, the world is great and the characters are great, and the writing is good, but it was still at that point where it was, gaming was trying to figure out how to create these stories. But I do think Final Fantasy VII was the point where I think games felt comfortable delivering these huge stories. Specifically, like I said, Aerith dying for a lot of people would have been the first time a major character in a game they were playing dies. Like, she's one of the main characters. She's probably the second most important character up until she dies, and the first most important character being Cloud, the player that you control. So when she dies, and she's your healer, you have to change everything about the way you play the game. Because you would have built your team, knowing full well that, okay, I've got to have my team like this. She's the healer, he's the tank. This, you've built your team around the specific way they play. And when she dies, not only is it emotionally draining, it's you kind of like, oh my, I'm kind of lost now. What do? I have to change the way I play. And I think that is probably one of the earliest examples for me of like really being like, oh wow, this is really impactful. I don't remember crying, but I do remember being, as a kid, really like heartbroken about that. The second game I'm going to talk about is Red Dead Redemption 2, and this is so I'm quite like Zach as well. I get really upset when I'm playing some games. Red Dead Redemption 2 broke me about 4 times.
I've still not played it.
It's so I hope you don't mind me saying what I'm about to say anyway.
Go ahead.
But basically, you play as Arthur Morgan, and you start off, in this. You start off in a group that go around pretty much stealing from people, and that old Western thing. You are the bad guys essentially. You are the, I guess, the movie cowboys. You're not good people. And he's not a good person, at least at the start of the game. He kills and he steals and he does all these bad things. But over the course of the game, if you get the choice to control him and make him do good things or bad things. About 3/4 of the way through the game, you get tuberculosis. He gets tuberculosis. I can't even say that word. TB. Let's say TB. But he gets TB, and then you'll start walking through the game, and you'll start coughing. And the further and further you get through the story, his cough will get louder and louder and harsher, to the point where the camp fractures completely, and two of the main characters, which one of them is John Marston, who goes off to be the main character in the first game. They want to leave. They want to take their things and leave, but there's like there's a big struggle between the camp members, and Arthur knows he's going to die. And the one specific moment isn't actually him dying, which is beautiful. It's still sad, but it's more beautiful than sad because he's like, oh, he's at peace. The one moment, it's like, so basically he knows he's going to die, and he jumps on a horse. Oh, he's just about to jump on a horse, and he says goodbye to John Marston's wife, Abigail. And he's basically saying to her, take care of John. I'm going to go because basically John's been held captive, and you're basically going to rescue him, knowing full well you're either going to get killed or you're just going to die because you're exhausted, like physically exhausted. And he jumps on his horse. Oh my god, man, it's getting me ready. But like it's just a montage of all the things of what people have said to you from the start of the game, from when you start being good. And there's a beautiful song called That's the Way It Is. I totally recommend you go and listen to it because it's so good. And basically it's just him riding his horse. And all you do is just hold X and you ride your horse for about 3 minutes. And it's called, I think it's Arthur Morgan's Last Ride. And it's basically the last time you really ride the horse through the world, as, with the freedom that you have. And it's just so heartbreaking because and he knows that he's going off to die, but he's doing something noble. He's going to save John Marston. That hit me. But the third game, I mean, if those 2 games hit me, the third game, so I learned, the game I'm going to talk about is That Dragon Cancer. I learned about this game a couple of years ago because I think it won an award at the Video Game Awards, actually, for best writing, I want to say.
The Game Awards.
Yeah.
It's definitely there.
So basically, Zach, I know you intrigued to know about this game, and I will explain. So basically, it's about a child called Joel Evan Green who gets diagnosed with terminal cancer at 12 months old, and the story is basically you're kind of his parents, but also like looking at him, experiencing his life, going through chemo, and them being told he's terminal until essentially he dies. So that in itself is heartbreaking. But then you find out it's based on a true story.
Oh, don't tell me that. That's horrible.
This is what I'm saying. And so
it's made by the parents.
It's made by his mother and father. His mother and father, Amy and Ryan Green.
Awful.
It gets even worse. I say worse. I mean, like,
stuff to me?
It gets even worse because, and this is the most utterly heartbreaking game I've ever played. I can't even watch it. I can't even watch the ending on YouTube because I start welling up. But basically, his parents wrote the game, based on their experiences with the child, and the child's voice, I believe, I could be wrong on this, the child's voice you hear throughout the game is his voice.
No!
And then at the end, it's like really beautiful because he's just playing, he's feeding his dog pancakes, and then like basically the camera goes white, and it's like, oh my god, that is brutal. It is, honestly, I would recommend anyone, I mean, if you don't like being spoiled, I wouldn't listen to this. But my God, if you get a chance, it's only like an hour and a half long. Play that game. It is. Do you remember that album I told you to listen to?
Yes, that's what I was going to talk about. I hate you so much.
That's literally what it's like.
It's
literally what I can't remember the name of the album. Oh my God, what's the album called? I think it's a crow.
So there's a
crow.
For anyone listening at home, Johnny recommended an album to me.
I did warn you though. Let's be honest. I did warn you.
Yeah, but come on, you can't tell me not to listen to it after you told me to listen to it. And what was the story? The guy was basically wrote a whole album about his wife having passed away, and it's
what's it called?
It was the saddest hour and a half. It's about an hour, I guess.
Yeah, it's about an hour. It's so brutal.
I came over to you afterwards, and I was like, I don't know why you did this to me. I sat and listened to this full album, and it's.
A crow looked at me.
That's A Crow Looked at Me. Oh my God! But you have to be in the right frame of mind to listen to that album.
You have to be in a really good mood and not want to be in a good mood.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, like, if you're sad, probably don't listen to it, because it's basically about the first song is like him talking about his wife dying of cancer, and then it just continues on from there. And then he's like, "Our daughter misses you," and it's like, "Oh my God, this is." I was just in tears. I was on the bus, the tour bus, just in tears, sat there, just like, "Wow!" It's incredible. It's one of the best albums I've ever listened to. One of the most honest albums I've ever listened to. But warning, it's sad. It's so sad.
I just remember it making me feel sick. I remember just being sat on that bus listening to it, and you would. I think you probably were still in tears when you told me to listen to it.
I was like,
and I was just like, right after, just like, oh, it just made me.
But yeah,
it's such a horrible.
I think going back to what I was saying about those games in particular, and that Dragon Cancer. I mean, the one thing I would say is, it's.
I'm gonna look it up.
It showcased a lot about his life and his it gave a lot to his life and his parents. It's for them. It is one of those tragic memories to have. But like,
it's a grieving process, isn't it?
They made something incredible, and that's totally right. It's a grieving process, and like I would recommend anyone to play it. Obviously, be in the right frame of mind. But yeah, I think that in itself is probably one of the most brutal things I've ever played in my life, and I would say, yeah, play it if you're in the right frame, but just yeah.
I hate you, Johnny.
I think that's probably the best point to move on to something a bit more fun, because recently, Dav, I think me and you we can talk a little bit about Streets of Rage, actually, because I think that's probably the best point to move on to to go away from something incredibly sad onto Streets of Rage. But me and Dav have actually been playing Streets of Rage 4 recently. I think it's probably the best time to move on to that, because I am actually shocked by how incredible that game was.
Very good.
When me and Dav were playing it, the one thing that struck me straight away was, one, the animations are incredible, but two, the music is so good.
They've nailed it.
They absolutely nailed it. I think and Dav, like, feel free to add in here as well. I just think what they've done. I mean, considering the last game that came out was 1994.
Something like that, yeah.
I can't. They've really captured what that game was like back then, but updated it with like modern graphics, or modern, like, I guess a modern style of graphics. The music, there's a retro music you can play as well, which I think is just great. I think it's such a great option. Although we haven't tried it yet.
When are you guys going to stream the second half?
Next Monday.
Monday the 1st of June.
Well, this episode will be out by then, will it?
It will. It's out Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So when you're listening to this, you can go and join them on the Steam on the Monday.
Yeah. You
on
can.
Twitch.
On Twitch.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Is that on Dav Plays Things?
Dav Plays Things.
Dav Plays Stuff. Dav Plays Stuff. That was the name of the channel. Well, no, you guys really are doing it on Video Games Ahoy.
Yeah. I really enjoyed how different each of the characters are. So we did a little test stream the day before, and I played as the guy who reminds me of Jax from Mortal Kombat, with the big 2 metal arms. And then when we first started on the Monday, I played as Axel, who's like the protagonist, male protagonist character. But then we lost, and then Johnny's connection cut out. So I thought, let's change it. So I went for Chey Hunter.
You did,
and I really found my sweet spot. And it all felt so different to play with, which is really impressive, considering a lot of it you're just sort of hammering one button.
Yeah.
As is beat 'em up fashion. But really good stuff. Really felt it felt true to its roots,
Yeah.
while also feeling fresh and enjoyable.
Yeah.
It didn't try too much, but it tried just enough to really sort of go, we are relevant. This series is relevant. Like, don't worry.
Well, it's had really good reviews. I was looking at the reviews the other day. They're around about 86 on Metacritic across all of the platforms. That's pretty good. I mean, that
can't
to me,
argue with that.
Yeah, that's pretty good territory to be in. I think most good games are around the 80 mark, or most games that people would recommend at least are around the 80 plus mark. So they're probably going to make I imagine they're going to make. I say second one. They could probably make number 5 just based on.
Yeah, well, hopefully they expand upon this one. That would be nice.
Yeah, some DLC.
Yeah, but again, we haven't finished it yet, so we can't really talk to this. But
imagine if the last 5 levels are so bad. We're like, no. We don't recommend this game anymore. It's
just
terrible.
Throw my laptop in the bin. It's nice. The characters and the bosses and all the rest of it, I care.
Yeah.
Like, when you defeat a boss and they have a little cutscene afterwards, you're like, I kind of care what happens to this character now. And then, like, different characters start coming back and all feels connected. They've put a lot of effort into making it into a video game.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate it, and I'm really enjoying it.
I think the elation we felt as well after beating some bosses that
yeah.
There was one specific boss in Chinatown, I think it was, where
the Chinatown
you've
level.
got like 3 small sections before you get to the boss, and the small sections weren't. It was, I say, relatively easy, but like you just had people coming in and fighting you from both sides of the door. And the first time we did it, I got to the second section and I'd lost all my lives, and Dave got to the final boss. But then I think you were on like 0 lives as well. So like it was like 30 seconds that he wiped you out. But then so we learned from our mistakes, and the second time we did it, we managed to get to the final boss, and then we beat him quite easily. But it's a really good game where it does make you go, okay, this is what I did wrong last time. This is what I need to do, and then it becomes a lot easier. It's a great game for like learning how to beat stuff. In that sense.
Yeah. The idea, like I think I've said this before on the podcast. Like, a great thing in a game is when you die and it's your fault.
Yeah.
And you can see it's your fault, and you go, right, now I've got to improve. Things like Dark Souls are good at that.
Yeah.
That's so rewarding then when you do finally get through. You go, I worked hard to do that.
Yeah.
And you get this false sense of achievement as you get from all video games. Because none of it's real. I know, what?
But I did it.
But I did it. And it felt really good playing through it. Another game that's rewarding, hello Mr. Segway, is Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah. How's that been going? Because I watched you on the old Twitch.
On the old Twitch.
Yeah. It looks fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's not perfect. I think lockdown maybe affected a little bit of the QA testing and stuff like that. And my issue...
What is it?
It's like a Diablo. It's like an isometric hack and slash RPG kind of thing, like dungeon crawler.
Yeah,
So
it's
like,
essentially Minecraft Diablo style.
yeah.
From what I was watching anyway, that's what it looked like to me.
Cool.
Exactly, just hordes of enemies. You've got like certain skills on lockdown, on cooldowns, and so my main gripes with it are they're already advertising for DLC on the day it came out, which is interesting, and
Very bold.
the levels seem to be procedurally generated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which frustrates me in almost every game I've ever played procedurally generated levels in, because it makes me feel like they haven't crafted it. And so like there's a chance that I will have like bad experiences in this game.
Yeah, you can't guarantee a level will be
jank.
good, which is not.
Exactly. And now there are some games that procedural generation doesn't always mean that. It can be like we have a certain like way of designing procedural generation so that it does work, but it doesn't feel like that's the case with this game. There are a lot of dead ends with nothing in them, and it feels like if I was to play that same level again, maybe there would be something in them, or like, and whatnot. But this game is designed to be replayed over and over and over again. So there are 3 difficulty levels. To start with, you only get 1 difficulty level, and within that difficulty level, every stage has 8 different difficulties.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so and then you can replay levels as much as you want. I'm actually having to now because I got to the final level and I wasn't high enough power level to be able to complete it. It was so hard. I ended up dying. I was like, no, I tried twice. It's like, no, I'm going back. So now I'm going through old levels on a much higher difficulty to try and get better equipment and stuff and get better equipped for that final level. But it's really good. It's got that play one more round factor. I only stopped today because we were doing the podcast. Otherwise, I would have carried on to. I've got one level left, and I'm really enjoying it. And I recommend it. I'd love to play it co-op. I think in the future. It's on Game Pass. It's on Switch, and it's on Xbox, I believe.
Do you think it'd be a big seller? Do you think it's
Yes.
do you think for like kids it's an accessible version of Diablo for them to be able to go, oh, I can play this, or maybe beyond that? Is it like a connector for kids, I guess?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely, you'll get the two crowds of the Diablo crowd and the Minecraft crowd coming together on this one. And I feel like maybe the Minecraft crowd would be more disappointed than the Diablo crowd.
I guess so, yeah. Because I guess gameplay wise, it's a lot closer to.
Yeah, and if you're a 6-year-old going around Minecraft and going into this game, it's a very different experience. It's the same IP, same Minecraft, but you're going into it and you're it's all combat basically, you know.
Yeah.
There's no creation. It'd be nice to see that maybe they create levels in the future, or if you get a particularly good procedurally generated level, that you can save that and be like, oh, I'll play that with my mates, and like you can replay that specific generation of the level. But
I think making your own level sounds like a great idea, considering
for Minecraft, and like you could have an integration where you could make them in Minecraft and import it into Minecraft dungeons and vice versa. But yeah, it feels a little rough around the edges, but I'm willing to stick with it, and I want to see how it progresses. So I'm going to be playing it probably on the weekly, maybe more often. I've played it twice in 2 days already. So but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I recommend it, and it's on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, there's no excuse not to try it. Yeah,
that does sound great. I'm just going to tell a brief story about Game Pass. Before the stream that me and Dad were going to do for Streets of Rage, I was trying to figure out why won't Streets of Rage 4 work? What the hell is going on? Turns out my Game Pass had run out the day before, and I had to I was frantically trying my best to sign up to go, oh, let's do this, doing it for 1 minute, just £10 or whatever, I'll just spend it. And yeah, so that's another reason why I was also late, and then my PC crashed. So I was having a pretty tragic day.
Yeah, and then my internet cut out after a couple of hours as well.
It did. But it was a good thing we got so far already. But that sounds great about Minecraft Dungeon. That sounds awesome. What about you, Zach?
Man, this week so I'm in my hometown right now. We're in lockdown. In my hometown. Which means I'm away from my partner, which is a real shame because I don't have to explain why that's bad.
Yeah.
But we're both still working quite a lot, still doing lots of things, and we're finding it really difficult to switch off and take some time, because you got to do that especially if you're someone who works from home.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just work into the night because you don't have anyone telling you not to do that.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So we started to schedule some time in the day where we would do something together, but doing something together is often difficult because what do? You've got you can watch a movie together. I don't really want to do that because I don't really talk through movies. You
can't talk really, can you?
Right. So I suggested we could get a game on our computers. Now we both have computers that are not for games at all. So I was trying to find something that we would both enjoy because she doesn't really she's got very specific tastes when it comes to games. She's very much into strategy games, stuff where you've got to really plan stuff.
Okay.
No violence. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I get it. And so I went through, I had a few ideas, and I whittled it down to 3 games. Castle Crashers, which was too violent, so we didn't play that.
That's gone.
That's gone. Stardew Valley, which was a pretty high contender.
Ooh,
the other one was Human Fall Flat, which is the game we ended up picking.
Oh, yes,
nice,
such
man.
a good game.
And the reason we went with that in the end was because we'd actually, about a year ago, had started playing Unravel 2 together.
Such a good
which
game.
is a great game if you want to play a fun, cute platformer especially with someone who's not used to using controllers and stuff, because
It's not stressful. It's really,
not stressful. It's so pleasant and like whatever. I'm not like it's just something nice to do together, you know.
Mm.
Anyway, I'll talk about Human Fall Flat because that's what we've been playing, and I had actually played it very briefly with a friend about a year ago, and as soon as we put it on, neither one of us had played it, and it was like, this is so cute and cool, and like, isn't this funny? Because like it's really awkward, and like the puzzles aren't that difficult. It's just controlling is a little bit janky, you know, but that's part of the game. It's supposed to be a bit like all that stuff, and
you got to lean into the jank.
You do, yeah, and that's kind of part of the fun, you know. And it also has a lot of like opportunities for, you know, within that Breath of the Wild stuff that we were talking about on our deep dive. It allows you to come up with your own solutions a bit. You know, it's not like you must do this. You know, it's like there are ways around, and it works differently depending on the number of players you have. We're not very good at it, I will tell you that much. And our computers are not built for games at all. So my computer goes absolutely nuts and overheats and gets very upset. But that's been a really cool thing to do. I would recommend it to anyone. I think I would basically recommend it to anyone who's got the time, because even if you're not really into games, it's not really a thing. It plays quite a lot like, you know, in the way that you would do a jigsaw puzzle. You know, it's got this kind of like, all right, it might take us a little while, and maybe we don't know where all the pieces go, but we're having fun because we're doing it. I'm doing it with my, you know, I'm doing it with my partner, or if you're doing it with your friend or your mum or whoever it is. If you're doing it with someone that you want to hang out with, that's kind of enough.
It's a funny game as well.
It's really funny, and not like it tells jokes. It's just funny because like it's just awkward and silly and like very and a really good way to wind down and take my mind off of work stuff, you know, because. Because I think the other thing as well is it relies on a lot of good communication if you're playing it with someone else, because if you figure something out before the other person, you have to, you know. So and I'm a big fan of that stuff at the moment. Actually, as I said a few weeks ago, I've been playing Fortnite a lot, which I'm still not all that proud of. But again, it's one of those nice things where communication is rewarded. And again, that's just a really nice experience to have with good friends and whoever it is that you love. So and it's like a tenner, you know what I mean? Like it's a good game for a good amount of time. I think we'll get a lot of mileage out of it, provided that my computer doesn't throw itself out of the window. So not built for Human Fall Flat. And to be honest, I probably should have gone with Stardew Valley because I think that's probably less taxing. But
you would do you know what, if you do go with Stardew Valley, please tell me what it's like, because it's probably a game that I'll be able to recommend to Rosie.
I think it probably. I definitely think it's the kind of thing Rosie would get into.
Yeah, me too.
The important thing to remember with Stardew Valley is, like Animal Crossing, there's two ways to play it. There is chill the hell out and just take your time, don't stress too much, or do everything really quickly all the time, at all time, every time, always. Because I was trying to get in the middle of that, and it was too quick for me, and I just went, it stressed me out. Yeah, I'm doing this, I'm not doing that, and then the game clock goes quite quickly, and if you're not planting your things and watering them at a certain time. Okay. But I've got a couple of friends who are like majorly into that game, like really? To like the nth degree, and they swear by it. Yeah. So
you know that actually makes me think of. Do you guys ever play Pikmin?
Well,
yes.
Funny you should say that, because I've never played Pikmin, but there is rumors that 3 is going to be coming to the Switch this year.
Oh, okay.
So, but at the same time, do I want to go straight into 3? Is there a story that connects them? I have no idea. Dad, maybe you could shine a light on that.
I haven't played 3 or 2. I've only played a bit of 1.
Same.
But I'd be surprised if 3 comes and 1 and 2 don't.
Yeah.
Pikmin trilogy just
be so easy.
I'd be all over that.
It'd be so easy to do that, wouldn't it?
It does look like a game that because I don't know if you guys watch Arlo on YouTube. You should definitely check him out, because he loves Pikmin. He's really funny as well. But he talks about Pikmin all the time, and every time he puts a video up, I'm straight there going, oh man, this looks like a game that I would really, really enjoy, because it's kind of relaxing, but also like it's kind of not stressful, but you know what I mean.
That's kind of what I really meant about it. Like it's so cute and like, look at this really nice environment, but like you're constantly on the clock. You have to achieve so much so quickly. And to be fair, I played it when I was a kid, so I was an idiot. Yeah. But like even now, like I just picture it and I'm just like, oh, it's just stressful. Like I don't want to be worried about. But that's kind of what it makes you think of is that like contrast between that really nice, lovely, like look at this environment. And you have a time limit. You better get on with it. Even now, I'm just like picturing
the most. I was just going to say the most stressful version of that is Majora's Mask. I mean, the world literally ends.
Yeah, but you can always redo it. Pikmin, if you miss your deadlines, you have to start the game again. I don't want to do that.
I didn't know that.
You've got 30 days, and there are 30 items. Is that right? I think that's
something like that, yeah.
So you have to go and collect an item a day. It's really stressful. But then comparatively, you hear the music. Honestly, after this as well, go and listen to the music from that game because it's so like dee 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 dee. It's so like cute and happy, and all the colourful, and even the monsters look happy. I have big mixed feelings about that game.
In that sense, it's very Nintendo, isn't it? In that, like, it has, it looks cutesy, but then sometimes Nintendo games can be relatively stressful on times. I'm not saying all the time, but I mean, speaking more Nintendo games, the one game I've been dipping in and out of recently, because apart from Streets of Rage 4, which we've kind of already covered, I've not really had a chance because we've been doing so much away from the podcast to actually sit down and play anything new, and I think at this point I'm just going to wait for Xenoblade to come out. So I've been dipping in and out of two games. One I put like 80 hours into, and we've kind of mentioned before, that's Mario Kart 8. I've recently started playing online, because I never used to play online, but I was kind of like, okay, let's play online and see what I can do. And do you know what? I was doing alright. I was getting like first and seconds quite a lot online. And like,
seconds?
Yeah, first. I know. I was like, as soon as I get second,
everyone.
It's like if you're not first, you're last. Like that's pretty much it. Like it's but no, it's good fun because I think usually when we've previously played it, it does obviously become a lot harder when you've got 8 people or 12 people who can actually play Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's so different when you're playing like 3 people who can play it and then a load of people who can't. But when there's actually a group of people who can play it, it's obviously so much harder.
I love coming 7th in those games. There's something about like coming 7th and knowing that there were 6 people who are better than you. You're like, what? How are there 6 people better than me?
I mean, the one thing I do love about it though is, and I think the one thing it always draws me back to Mario Kart 8. I obviously everyone loves winning. Everyone loves coming first, but I do find it really funny when I'm like first, and then like a blue shell comes and I end up 10th.
Sickening.
But I can't help find that really funny because I'm just like, what can I do? What can I do in that situation? It's like it's a blue shell, unless I have one of those like I don't know what they call
the siren things.
Yeah, the siren things. But so that's one game I've been playing. I've been really enjoying playing that online actually, and it's surprising because I was way more hyped for Smash Brothers, but I played it for 5 games of Smash Brothers. Like I don't enjoy this because people take it way too seriously, and like it's far too. You'll see people like stepping back, and then you try to attack them, like kicking you in the air and stepping back. I'm like, oh, this is. I'm obviously worse than you. I don't mind the fact that I'm worse, but it's like people take it. I get when it comes to tournaments, it's fine. Take it seriously. But when it's like I'm just trying to free play, it's like, oh man. At least with Mario Kart 8, I can go, yay! I'm just driving, and I'm just like shooting shells.
Well, it's interesting because I think Smash Brothers went in kind of a slightly different direction than Mario Kart. Mario Kart is the game where I think the biggest goal that Mario Kart has is to convince whoever's playing that they are pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever played Mario Kart will say, "Oh, I'm great at that game."
Yeah,
they are. But it does tell you. It does convince. Smash Brothers does that on the bigger games. If you're playing with 4 or even 8 people, you can still feel like you're doing all right because you're still, whatever. But they also have the alternative mode, which is like, obviously, they say, what's the meme about? Like,
it's like
Fox.
1v1 me, bro.
1v1 me on Fox on Final Destination, no items. And it's a completely different game. It turns into its own. It's a different game. It's a completely different thing. And actually, weirdly enough, I think I actually prefer that to the sort of the main brawl kind of vibe to it. But that's because I'm sad. I'm a sad person.
I think what I realised was because you came over my house about 6 months ago, and we played Smash Brothers for about 3 hours. And that was fun. Yeah, man. Oh, well, Zach clearly can't remember being my friend. But no, we sat around. We played those Nintendo games. We we play Smash Brothers, and it's the only reason why I remember it is
Oh,
because
I remember. Sorry.
yeah,
I remember.
because the only reason I remember it is because I was like, I remember at the time I was going, oh wow, this is probably the first time I played local multiplayer on Smash Brothers.
Yeah,
and it's way more
Local
fun.
multiplayer is so much more fun.
It's
on
so
Smash
much
Bros.
better. It's
And Mario Kart.
Yeah, like, and to be fair, what I would say is I enjoy both of them. I love playing local. I don't enjoy playing Smash Online. One, because it's not great. It doesn't run amazingly well. Whereas I've not really had any
netcode is
not had
garbage.
any issues with Mario Kart Online. If I never like maybe I'm just lucky. But I've played it enough to be like, okay, I've never had any crashes and like the game cancels or anything like that. I've never felt like I'm lagging. If people overtake me, it's because I'm like, oh, they've got a booster, or because I've been hit. But with Smash Brothers, I'll jump and then it'll be like, I'm like, it's not fun. It's not fun to watch that. But yeah, Mario Kart 8 is what I've been playing. Another game I'll talk about very briefly because I've really not put in enough time, and it's only because I've probably played about 2 games of it. I've been watching The Last Dance on Netflix with the Michael Jordan documentary. And at that time, they must have done it on purpose. 2K were just like, right, NBA 2K20, £3 or $2.50 or whatever it was, and I was like, I'm gonna buy that because I want to be Michael Jordan. And I spent like three gold coins, so I actually got it for free. And you know what? It runs surprisingly well on the Switch, and that shocked me more than the fact that it was on the Switch in the first. Like the fact that it was on the Switch, I was like, oh, that's great. But the fact that it runs so well, I was like, you know what? Yeah, obviously it doesn't run as well as the Xbox and the PS4, but I didn't. At no point was I like, this is garbage. I'll never pick this up again. The only reason why I didn't pick it up more than I did was because I've just not really had time, and that's why I couldn't really get into it, because I was like, there's so much about basketball that I thought I knew about and I just don't know about. And there's so many tactical stuff that I was like, well, I'm so out of my depth here.
So I picked it up on Stadia for about $2.40, $2.39, whatever it was, and I played about 10 hours of the career mode.
Yeah.
But there's so many goddamn cutscenes.
Yeah. Oh, there is.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I've finally got to the bit where you're actually in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool idea, like, because I'm a big American football fan, and if Madden had a mode where you could like a proper mode, where you could go through all that, because they tried it to a varying degree of success.
Yeah.
But something like this, if it was identical to this, but it was American football, with like half the amount of cutscenes, I'd be all over that.
Yeah.
But like you'd have a cutscene, and you go, okay, fine. You'd have another one. You go, that would be about nothing. You'd have another one, then you have another one, then you have a menu screen. You go press continue to go to the next.
Can you
bit.
skip the cutscenes? Because I remember
you can, but otherwise, if you're gonna skip the cutscenes, why am I doing?
Yeah, you may as well play my career.
You
You may as well just do my career or whatever it's called. The one you
that is the career.
The one you just play as the team, and that's it. Yeah, I see. What you mean.
Exactly. And they call him Chey the entire time, and it's like, if you'd have told me that beforehand, I would have named him Chey, but I didn't. I named him David.
It's just nowhere near, is it? It's just man.
And he's
funny.
this nerdy little white dude, and he doesn't speak like he looks at all.
I know, because god.
And it's like, just like, you should have told me his name. You should have taken that out of my hand. It's like in FIFA when they did the journey, and they had Alex Hunter. His name was Alex Hunter. He looked like Alex Hunter. He was Alex Hunter. You're playing as him.
Yeah.
You should have done that.
They should have just
done that the entire time.
They should have just had, because I agree with you, and I think the NFL, because that is one game these games I would love them to come to Switch, because I'm more likely to pick up the Switch, play it, and then put it down. So like playing one game of those is more appealing to me when it's on the Switch, which is why I picked it up on the Switch. But the one thing I would say, the only difference between those two, NFL and basketball, is one of them is 2K, one of them is EA, and EA. I mean, isn't the thing with EA? They've pretty much owned the rights to the NFL, and that's why no one else can make a game of the NFL.
Well, they have exclusive rights. Yeah, sure.
Because they do the same with Pro Evo as well. They've basically bought the Champions League from the Pro Evo previously had. So like.
Rightly so, though, because Pro Evo went down the.
I'll always stand up for Pro, just because of the gameplay, just the physics and everything else. I love it. But
fair. But EA has so many problems, but 2K has so many problems as well. My God, when that game first came out, it had unskippable adverts, and it's a game that you're paying £50 to buy.
Yeah,
it's like,
I remember that.
How dare you? How dare you? And now they had an advertising campaign, like promoting its gambling mechanics.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're disgusting. You literally disgust me.
It is disgusting. And one thing I remember with the Switch as well, I don't know if it's the same because I haven't done the My Career mode on the Switch, is you have to have an internet connection. Otherwise, you can't do it.
Yes.
And I don't know if that still is with the Switch. I've not left my house with my Switch for months. So
I played 2K18 on the Switch when it came out in the Switch's launch year, and I seem to remember having to have an internet connection for that as well.
Yeah.
Because they had this whole neighborhood thing, and it's back in this one as well. It's rubbish.
That's really
in order to like, you get a message in the career mode. Sorry, I know this is a game you brought. You get a message in the career mode saying, "Oh, you've got a new pair of shoes. Buy any pair you want. It's free on the house. Just pop to the shoe shop in the neighborhood." So you go down to the menu, you find the neighborhood, you load, and you load, and it's on Stadia, and it's like, this thing is designed to not have to load.
Yeah.
And most of the game is fine, but yeah, this neighborhood thing. And eventually you get in and you connect to the internet, and you go, right, you are now like walking around this like square, and you've got to like try and find where the shoe shop is. And the only note you have is, "Oh, it's next to your agent's office." And she's like, "I don't know where my agent's office is." So you're like going around, you eventually find the shoe shop, you go in, you get the new shoes, you go, "Great. Oh, that was it. I now have to leave the neighborhood to go and play a game."
It's going to load again.
Why?
Well, I think it's one of those, like, it's trying to be immersive, but it's just kind of like, there's being immersive, and then it's like wasting your time, and I just kind of feel like it's kind of
they tried the immersion with 2K18, or I don't know when this neighborhood thing started, but it feels like it's been left over.
Yeah.
Like they haven't, because they have to do it every year, they don't have enough time to build a whole new thing to replace it. They go, "Oh, well, it's in there, it's fine."
Yeah.
And because it's a sports game, people will just pay 50 quid or $60 or whatever and just play it every year over and over, and we'll take all the rubbish that comes with it. Same with Madden, same with FIFA, same with Pro Evo. I mean, Pro Evo's free now.
Yeah.
And like, if NBA wasn't $250, like $249, there's no way I would have bought it.
I wouldn't have bought it. The only reason why I bought it was that cheap. Can I just say something before we move on? I just love how Zach has just been silent because we're talking about sports for the last 5 minutes.
Go sports! I'm actually gonna time how long it's been since I've said anything. I'm gonna have a look. It's been some time.
You were just sitting there going, I could just see you going, sports. God.
I was like, oh God, not sports. Now, to be fair, actually, I quite like basketball games.
Yeah.
I think the one I like the most is the Mario basketball.
Mario.
Which is a
Mario
great
basketball.
game.
Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, Mario Strikers.
The Mario sports games are amazing.
They're all amazing. I love the Mario Tennis game, and the one that came out recently. It's not amazing, but it's just so much fun. Guys, let's move on. Because there's one thing I kind of want to speak to you guys about. We've already mentioned it, but Xenoblade Chronicles is out on Friday. But by the time this podcast goes online, it'll actually be out because this comes out on Saturday. And I imagine myself and Dad will have put, I don't want to guess how many hours we've put into it because that would reveal many sad things about our lives. Like 20 hours in one day. That'd be close. What I was going to ask you guys is, what do you think the Metacritic score is going to be? Because it was released our time an hour ago, and I've just checked it. So just a little fun game. What do you think the Metascore is for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition?
So Metacritic scores usually start high and then they go down over the next week or so.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's pretty high. I'm gonna say 90.
Okay. Zach, what are you going with?
I'm gonna say a little bit lower. I'm gonna say 83 as a starting point.
Okay. Well, actually, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 ended up as, I think it was 82 at the end. I've got the score in front of me, and one of you is 1 point out. That is Dav. It's 89 currently.
Oh,
which is
pretty good.
But what's interesting is the scores that have given it really low scores. I kind of feel have been a bit. I've not read the review, but everyone else has given it like 90s and 100s, and someone's just come in and given it a 60, which kind of makes me feel like, have they reviewed the game thinking that they're gonna hate it and then just gone, yeah, I hate it?
Yeah.
When I see review scores, like everyone's saying that this is a good game, and the one person's coming and gone 60, it's like, is there something that, like, can it be that different to everyone else. I don't know. Maybe
I'd be interested to. I find it interesting reading those anomaly reviews.
Yeah,
'Cause you can usually tell if there's like a weird bias going on. You can usually tell. But it'd be interesting to see what problems they found or what things they loved that other people didn't. You know.
Yeah, that'd be more. That's more interesting to read for me than the ones that say this is the 95 out of 100 game. Because
And that's why when we start doing reviews, we'll only be giving them 4 out of 10.
Yeah,
I think it's true though. I think anything that gives, I always find this with reviews, anything that's giving like overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative, I'm always kind of like, it just seems lazy. Like, even if you really love something, you can be critical of it and you can be clear about.
Yeah.
Because no game is perfect.
There's no perfect
games.
There's literally no perfect game.
And I don't really think that there are any games that have. Maybe this is naive, but I don't think there are any games that have no merit. Please list them in the comments.
List all of the games that are
Games
complete
you think are
jack.
actually, but you have to be able. You have to like even okay. We all know how I feel about Uncharted, but I can say good things about it because there are things that are good about it.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that in review scores, some places have just given up on review scores.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that a 5 is so much worse than a 6, which is so much worse than a 7, which is so much worse than an 8.
Yeah.
Like these days, if it's not an 8 or above, people assume it's not worth playing.
It's kind of lost all meaning, really, because you're totally right. If it's not an 8 or above, it's like I said earlier. If it's not an 80 plus, a lot of people go it's a bad game, and I'm like, there's a whole like what? Because it's not the same in music. In music, if it's like a 6, it's usually like top of the charts, and you're like, what? I get there are more things in video games you can be critical about, even compared to films, because you can, even with a film, you can just film 2 actors for 2 hours sitting there having a conversation. You'd be like, wow, that was so deep and meaningful. Whereas with a video game, if it's unplayable, if it controls badly, it doesn't matter how good the story is. And
if it takes 100 hours as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like 5 days for you, isn't it?
That's what it was like with Animal Crossing. That's what it feels like, anyway.
Yeah.
Although, saying that, Rosie's just overtaking me on Animal Crossing.
Whoa.
But I haven't played it for about 2 weeks, so that says as much about that.
Your town is going to be mad at you.
Oh man, I dipped back
Mine
in.
too.
I dipped back in the day.
There is a crocodile sitting in your town with a sour face, my friend.
So, very briefly, because I think we're coming to the end of the podcast, one thing I was going to say very, very quickly is today, again, we've mentioned enough times we don't record on the day this goes out, Last of Us 2, it's going to have a state of play, I believe, today. So you'll probably all seen this by the time this podcast comes out, but I guess we're all going to be... Are you going to watch it, guys?
I'll catch up on it.
Yeah, you catch up on it. Yeah, that's fine.
No.
I get, like, I'm probably gonna watch it, but I get why Zach doesn't want to watch it. I'm
just ready now. Even that last trailer, I was just like, I didn't really appreciate seeing that at that point.
Totally understand.
The last thing I really wanted to see was the gameplay trailer. It was like 2 years ago, whenever that was.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was the last thing I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
I just want to play it now. Oh, how long is it? What's the date?
Less than 16th. Do you say it was
16th? So 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Is that right? 1, 2, 3 weeks. 3 weeks yesterday.
3 weeks yesterday.
Bring
Great.
it on.
So the last thing I'm going to move on to before we finish the podcast, and this is okay. We all love Nintendo. We talk about how much we love Nintendo constantly, but there is one thing during the Switch era that Nintendo have done catastrophically bad, and that's the Joy-Cons. So a lot recently is the Joy-Con drift. I've read a lot of people, and because basically Nintendo are saying we can't take your Joy-Cons in whilst coronavirus is happening because we've shut our stores down. So if anyone's got Joy-Con drift, they can't get the controllers fixed. 3 of my controllers, and I have 8. 3 of the controllers have drift.
I sent mine in 2 weeks before lockdown.
You got them back?
Yeah.
Nice. So, I mean, as soon as lockdown ends, I'm going to be sending 3 of them off. But, like, it's so frustrating because Nintendo usually has this, like, it has the seal of approval saying this is a Nintendo product. And you can go back to the oldest consoles and they'll still work. My Nintendo 64 still works. The games still work. The controllers still work. And it's sad because they've always had... There's been videos of people throwing 3DSs down the stairs, picking them up and playing them. So it's sad that the Switch has been their best console, best-selling console at least since the Wii in 10 years, and I don't know if the controllers are going to last another 10 years. People are going to come back to the Switch in 10 years' time and be like, I can't play this game because the drift is... Mario's running around in the different direction to where I'm pushing him, and it's
when I started to have drift, I didn't even realize that was like a common issue. I thought I'd done something wrong, so I went and bought new controllers.
That's what I did.
Which are not cheap. Like, it's like 60 quid, and I'm like, 60 quid. 80?
Yeah.
Did I spend 80 quid so they can replace my... That's so annoying. I don't even have it anymore. But like, I just found that... I found that pretty reprehensible, actually. I was pretty mad about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, like... It's not like they set out to do that. I'm not, But... I don't know, man. It just meant like I couldn't play all these great games I wanted to be playing. It was really frustrating. Anything that required, fine-tuned controls, just... and I was on tour at the time, so it was the only games that I had. So it was like, I guess I'm just not going to play games for a while.
So I'd say that to be fair, the one game I was playing it when I really started noticing it was Mario Odyssey, and I was on I don't know if you guys played the last couple of levels. There's a really, really, really hard level in Mario Odyssey, which is amazing, by the way. I'd love to I just love to say that. Yeah, it's the last. So basically, after you've unlocked a certain amount of stars. Moons, not stars. You unlock like Dark Side of the Moon and Darker Side of the Moon, I think, and then I think.
Oh, I don't think I ever got there.
I think the last one is this really, really tough level where like basically you've got it's the level is super hard, and it took me. I promise you, it took me probably about 30-40 goes to finish.
Wow,
it was so hard. But then when I beat it, I was amazing. But I did start noticing it during that game. But yeah, which is a shame. I would love to see Nintendo come out and say when this is all over, because I know they've already said it. And to be fair, they've already gone, right, we're going to try and fix it. And like you said, Dav, you didn't pay anything to get your Joy-Cons fixed.
Nope.
I mean, that is something in itself. Not every company would do that. And Nintendo, I still love you.
Well, I mean, that wasn't always the case. They had to change their protocol.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
Because there was a massive lawsuit on their hands, and they were like, okay, it's fine. We'll fix them all for free.
Yeah.
Just don't sue us, please, because we effed up.
But yeah, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for listening. That's podcast number 6. I can't believe we're on podcast number 6 already.
Over a month.
It's been over a month. I was just about to say it's been a month since we started putting out these podcasts, and thank you so much for listening. It really does mean the world to us. If you enjoyed the show, then please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Patreon. Tell your friends. Give us a review, give us a comment, anything really. It just
Someone
really
tell me what the name of that game is, man.
Yes, find out the game that Zach was talking about.
I've been trying to find it for weeks.
Yeah, tell us as well about have you a Joy-Con drift? Tell us about your experiences with everything we've spoken about today. We'd really love to hear more about that as well. Before I leave as well, I should just remind you all that me and Dab are playing Streets of Rage for this coming Monday. This will be part 2 of our playthrough, which will be, again, June the 1st. So when you're listening to this podcast, which should be Saturday, when it's out anyway.
And you can catch up on part 1 on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, swing by and watch us. We had a whale of a time last Monday, so we'd love it if you could come and watch us again. This is Jonathan, Dav, and Zach from Video Games Ahoy, and we'll see you next week.
Ahoy!
Ahoy! Ahoy.